Biofeedback. This is another presentation. This also I'll give to Kamruddin Saab. Biofeedback for health. I would like to tell you. So emotional wellness is an essential ingredient of the wellness management. So essential emotional wellness is achieved by many means. Actually, by first thing is by improving your spiritual wellness, by your thought process. That's very important. And uh, and then uncontrolled, but still, actually biofeedback, using biofeedback technique is an ultimate technique. I mean, the last resort used by the clinical psychologists or else by health psychologists when the condition is not controlled by the human being, by oneself. By my most recommendation, for that reason, wellness management scientists always say that every individual should should be uh, good enough in handling their emotional wellness on their own, instead of depending on biofeedback techniques. Not necessary. It is an ultimate resort or the last resort to correct some problems happening with the emotional content, by correcting by recognizing the lacuna happening at the biofeedback whole process, and then plugging those holes, neuronal holes, and then bringing some changes. But I tell you, biofeedback has never been a very successful tool. And and also many scientific studies are saying, but there are no clear evidences that would clearly bring an 100% result through the biofeedback. Biofeedback is used actually in sports sciences also for improving performances. That is a different issue that is not related to you. But so biofeedback is a process that enables an individual to learn how to change a physiological activity for the purpose of improving health and performance. You try to understand here, the definition is very simple. How to change physiological activity for the purpose of improving health and performance. So it's a very scientific thing. So in my view, biofeedback, since it is included in the topics I'm talking, biofeedback is handled only by the experts, not everyone. It is a treatment protocol many a time. It is used as a treatment protocol many a time by the clinical psychologists. When health psychologists also use biofeedback uh, to try to assess the condition of the emotional content of the or else the disturbances, biological disturbances happening because of the tension, aggression, anxiety, and all. But uh, it is all it requires a lot of expertise in it. Okay. So this is actually, in fact, used to alleviate issues such as performance anxiety, depression, headaches, and symptoms related to injuries and traumatic brain injury. Even people are believing, some psychologists, clinical psychologists, believing that injury to brain due to trauma, like concussions, like these things also can be reverted, and but it was not 100% successful. So actually, the biofeedback is returning the biological knowledge created by the origin and to origin in order to make the origin understand and control. This is a very complex definition. So first thing is, biofeedback is a pure scientific concept, and it should be handled only by the experts. And it's not the business of the people just listen and understand biofeedback and listen and just practice biofeedback. One or two easier techniques are there, like autogenic training, or like relaxation, progressive relaxation kind of thing, that you can understand. But for that also, we have to understand, we should know a lot of science on anatomy and physiology. If you do not know the science of anatomy and physiology, even the progressive relaxation of the muscles or the progressive relaxation of the neuromuscular connections, you cannot understand. You cannot achieve. So biofeedback is something that is that's the reason where you can apply these techniques, but by your own you cannot apply. In fact, if you want to apply on your own these biofeedback techniques, you must be very well versed in scientific concepts like stress pathways. So what are the stress pathways? Probably the stress starts from the central nervous system, and the perception of stress starts from central nervous system, spreads through the into the the axis, hormonal axis, and different areas it spreads, and give different problems, from central nervous system. So neuromuscular, one is a neuromuscular connection, and the second one is neurovascular connection, and the interneuronal connections between neurons, neuron and neuron, and between the between the nervous system and the muscles, between the nervous system and the vascular system. Vascular in the sense the circulatory system, neuro respiratory stress system. This way, so some scientists and biofeedback scientists, they are giving different stress mechanisms, stress pathways, but it's not correct. Those who understand the physiology, stress physiology, stress is not by one particular loop. Stress may be interconnected, may have several interconnected loops. That is why it's not that simple. That's why it is better handled by oneself and avoid stress. So biofeedback means returning the biological knowledge created by the origin to the origin in order to make the origin understand and control that knowledge. It's very difficult. So we have to make a particular knowledge. Already we should know what exactly central nervous system does. We should know. And then same knowledge we have to give where it is missing to the central nervous system. That is called biofeedback. And then the hypothesis is that it's a hypothetical definition, actually, but hypothetical one. The hypothesis is that by doing that, by bridging the gap of that physiology, what is missed, and then the scientists are thinking that they can get back to the old condition. So this is called biofeedback. So biofeedback you can apply for, it aids voluntary regulation of body states such as blood pressure, heart rate, and so on. See, I want to tell you one thing. You can approach psychology. You can approach definitely you can try to learn biofeedback. When it is needed, when you are already affected with biofeedback, is needed to control. How you are going to control? Even if you control through biofeedback, yes, you can control your, for example, blood pressure. You can control temporarily. You can control heart rate. You can control such other palpitations. You can control such other physiological phenomenon of disease markers. These are called markers of the disease. Temporarily. How long you will have the same biofeedback? So it is important that origin should be eliminated. What is the reason why you are getting these problems? That is important. You just because of the biofeedback, through biofeedback, if you just control your blood pressure temporarily, nothing you can solve. See, blood pressure physiology and heart rate, atherosclerosis physiology is entirely different. Just because of bringing down blood pressure temporarily will not solve the problem, because it may go back. The blood pressure, the origin is very important. Why you are experiencing hypertension? What is the reason? There may be many reasons. Not only because of the stress. Stress is one reason. Because of inactivity. That is why exercise is very important. Because of inactivity. Main reason of the blood pressure is those who don't do any exercise, they'll get hypertension. See, hypertension, diabetes, all these things are because of the inactivity, less physical activity. Hypertension, why hypertension occurs to the inactive individuals? I'll tell you. The reason is there is a particular cell signaling mechanism which we call it as a NO or nitric oxide signaling. Don't take it seriously. Nitric oxide signaling system, NO signal. nitric oxide synthase signaling. Nitric oxide synthase makes a nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is actually a potential modulator of the epithelial tissue of the vascular vascular epithelial tissue. It means blood vessels, epithelial tissue distension is maintained. If the NOS is not working properly because you are not exercising, because exercise makes the release of certain cytokines. I told you, muscle releases some chemical substances, and those chemical substances cause some chemical substance like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF kind of thing, initiates this kind of a nitric oxide synthase metabolism, and then your blood vessel will be, that blood vessel restitution or excitability of the blood vessel the musculature will be protected. If you don't exercise, those things will not come, and so slowly your blood vessel will become stiff. That is the reason why blood pressure occurs. Okay, it also happens because of the stress. If you don't do exercise, you will get a blood pressure, higher blood pressure, because of the failure of the nitric oxide NOS system. If you have the stress also, the NOS is subsided. NOS system is suppressed. That also leads for the blood pressure. So that is the origin of the blood pressure. So if you don't relieve the origin of the blood pressure, there is no meaning in getting back the through the biofeedback. So many a time in clinical psychology, they use only these biofeedback techniques as a temporary measures. It's not a permanent measure. Permanently, you cannot revert the hypertensive individual through biofeedback. You can just temporarily reduce the biofeedback through biofeedback, temporarily reduce the blood pressure, but not, you cannot completely eliminate the essence of the blood pressure or the causative factor of the blood pressure. It's not possible. So there are many things helpful, but not an instant cure. May help relieve muscle tension, headaches, migraine. Nothing is, because all these things have a physiological origin. Migraine, headaches, all those things, they are not of symptoms. They're symptoms. They are only symptoms. You feel it. But the origin, pathophysiology is different. Pathophysiology changes just because of the pathophysiology. You cannot change the pathophysiology through biofeedback. That is one big important issue. So, to enhance individual awareness of physical reactions, emotions, stress, all those things. Yes. To develop self-regulation skills that play a role in improving health and well-being. Good. So this is actually a process of the biofeedback loop I'm presenting to you. It is not actually in this way, but it is interconnected, but not in a looped manner. It is interconnected manner, anywhere to anywhere, because now the neuroscience has seen tremendous developments. It has seen tremendous developments. They have seen even muscle is a second brain. Muscle is considered as a second brain now, and brain is there everywhere. It's not only in the central nervous system. We called that as a brain earlier. Brain is there everywhere, every joint, everywhere. They're called receptors, of course. They are receptors, but still may not be called them as brains, but still they have a lot of receptors. And then processing areas are also there. Unlike earlier belief that only brain processes several things, but not like that. That down under the CNS and even peripheral nervous system also has several processing units like brain, and so they're all interconnected. And so it's the biofeedback cannot be in this loop, as I have shown. It's a command and then an action and an assessment, and then biofeedback is done. And then accordingly, what are the changes you feel? See, when you have some machine, you will but in biofeedback, there are methods that so finally it is biological information is gathered from maybe from the different apparatuses or equipment used, and then psychophysiological training, biofeedback training, then the goal of biofeedback is self-regulation. So I told you already, it is self-regulation, voluntary self-regulation. Well, voluntary self-regulation is not possible by the person, because unless you are educated in it. But though little training is there, but it's not sufficient. There are several models of biofeedbacks: physiological model, learning model, interactive model, but all are interdependent. So basically, in my view, most of the wellness managers and wellness concepts, those who in the medical field, they believe mostly the physiological biofeedback model. Interactive model is also believed in social setup. Social setup in general conditions, but learning model is very rarely seen. Emphasis on learning model is seen, but physiological emphasis biofeedback models are used in extensively in clinical psychology and health psychology. Clinical psychologists mainly they use the biofeedback model, this biofeedback model. So of course, this can be used. I have already told you that even sports also we are using the motor skills acquisition. It is VMBR technique. Professor Suin has introduced this Visio Motor Behavior Rehearsals technique, where athletes, sportsmen, they visualize and then they try to progressively practice internally in the brain, and then try to add on each one practically, and then they would rehearse then physically. So mental rehearsal after mental rehearsal, this is okay. And this is one way of biofeedback. And then stress reduction and relaxation is autonomic discrimination. I told you, knowledge is essential. See, if I wanted to make a person stress-free by progressive relaxation, for example, I just go on telling them, yes, from central nervous system, yes, you are feeling fine, you are feeling fine. Then your neck muscles, your cervices muscles, then your shoulder muscles. And then you should know what exactly cervix is. You should know the spinal is. You should know what is exactly different areas of the anatomy, different. And then you should know the physiological functioning of the body. Unless you know, you cannot understand. So biofeedback, unless it is conducted by an expert, it's not advisable that. And biofeedback, that's why that practically the biofeedback cannot be inserted into the wellness management for health purposes. So for prevention purposes, it's not necessary. We are talking mostly, most of my talk is on prevention purpose. See, once ill health is there, you are talking about biofeedback. So what I am talking is there should not be any ill health. You please prevent it. Prevent hypertension, prevent anxiety, prevent aggression, prevent everything of psychological distress, prevent emotional distress. Then you will be very healthy. When there is a health, there is no need of biofeedback. Stress pathways, I already told, there are several. This is not actually, but all are interrelated, intermixed. So electromyographical techniques are used for the neuromuscular relaxation, neuromuscular relaxations by reading, by using the special sensors, EMG sensors are used, electromyographical sensors. They are all very classical models. These are all. Now they are changed. So it can understand the muscle preparedness, muscle pain, tension, fatigue muscles, and low back pain, so weakness, all those things. But the success rate is not that encouraging. Just because it gives electromyographical indications are given in the electric signals, and they may not actually project what really are the origin for this neuromuscular problems. So they are to be separately investigated. Neurohumoral, and these are all more physiological in nature. But one thing is sure, EEG, electroencephalogram, electroencephalographic observations through that one, where there are disturbances, then the patient is given some kind of a consultation or advices, and then they may also go for some medications. But in general, in my view, all these things, these are all for the experts. And if there is any problem in ill health, or like then you go to the hospital, clinical psychologist, clinical specialist, then they will take care of that. But in my view, as a wellness manager, I want to tell you one thing. Very important thing is, of course, it is a learning model. You have to self-regulate. That is a learning emphasis. Only one thing. I have been telling this one. Cognitive remodeling. So you have to remodel yourself, not cognitively. Readiness and competence of the learner. Multiple stages of self-efficacy is the last element, is the thing that is needed by the biofeedback model. You should be able to come to that level where you can take care of yourself, your emotions, your cognitive remodeling channels, and then you should work on self-regulation. But as already told now, it's not for all. It's not for all. It's only for therapeutic purposes, and mainly for therapeutic purposes. So biofeedback models are mainly for therapeutic purposes, and it's very, very, very rarely used for performance feedbacks. And mostly, the origin is physiological origin, and it can be understood only by the experts. So better not to be much. But one model I just wanted to tell you is social biofeedback. This is an interactive model. I told you, I was telling you about how social distress might happen, emotional distress. Social distress leads to emotional distress, how it is. Because you are other person's emotional education, control of expression, emotional competence. See, so this way it is fine. But how this model works is again a very hypothetical. And in terms of credibility, it's still an abstracting nature. So subjective experience, feeling desires, social biofeedback is important. When you look at this autonomic endocrine immune system responding, not accessible. Expressive display, facial expressions, posture, gesture, accessible to others. So that is the reason why, because this cannot be accessible. Why? Because there are physiological nature. You cannot understand. To understand immune disturbances, it is very, very difficult. You cannot have all those ELISA tests and all this. There are several assay techniques. What immune disturbances are happening? What the immune bodies, immunoglobulins are suppressed, what kind of a protein body is suppressed. No one knows it unless you measure them. And they are not constant. That is why anything that is biofeedback, whether it be a physiological feedback or something, any feedback, which these things are not accessible, because it cannot be measured directly at a particular juncture, and only the external things are accessible and will not be definitely effective. So that's the reason why I just wanted to suggest you emotional communication, social biofeedback, emotional education lead to emotional control and competence. Fine. But how you understand the biofeedback, social biofeedback, is your skill, emotional communication, and your education, emotional education. So I've been telling you since beginning, when I just let me just go back to one thing, last thing, beginning, that you have to be well aware about yourself. You have to be intellectual enough to understand the difficult aspects of the emotional wellness, and acquire top level spiritual wellness, and try to prevent the diseases and equip optimal health, and then automatically your life will be very fine. And then I told you that in the last 5 minutes, I think it's almost 24, last 5 minutes, I'll be spending some 5 minutes on important tidbits on COVID-19 pandemic, because we're all experiencing this. I wanted to tell you. See, I told you that in the beginning, exercise, any form of exercise, including yogasanas or else even the breathing if they are uncontrolled or excessive, excessive, when it becomes excessive, when you are doing above your level of competence of physiology, that is excessive. Uncontrolled means if internally some inflammation is, because when you are exercising, there will be an inflammation, there will be oxidative stress. Mostly we can control those things with our endogenous anti-inflammatory cytokines, anti-inflammatory, anti-oxidative things. If they cannot be controlled and excessive, what happens is, with respect to COVID, I am talking, both during and post exercise, susceptibility to infections will be increased, especially upper respiratory tract infection, because higher inflammation and higher oxidative stress, because of you take a lot of heavy breath, and then you damage your epithelial, endothelial, disintegration happens. So in the lung tissue, the epithelial and endothelial disintegration happens because of the excessive exercise. Because of the excessive exercise, you breathe heavily. You inspire and expire the breath in a high rate and high intensity. At that time, what happens is there will be a epithelial and endothelial disintegration, and then the border area, I mean the epithelial area cells, some of the cells which are part of the immunity. So innate immunity, which are part of immunity, called dendritic cells and then phagocytic cells like macrophages, they get destroyed, or else they get uh, stimulated in excessive quantities. So excessive quantities that they form, and then they further damage the epithelial endothelial disintegration. So exercise has that potential danger, especially when. But in normal conditions, nothing happens. For normal virus and all, they get killed because of the macrophages. But if it's COVID, what happens is it lodges very heavily in the AC receptors, upper respiratory tract, and then they get infiltrated to the lower respiratory levels and into the deep lungs. So when you are exercising, please see that the COVID infection will be more. When you exercise hard, COVID infection will be more, unless you have the capacity adoption, unless you have the adoption already. So don't begin exercise during the COVID pandemic. Somebody is saying exercise will give you something that very immunity. It will give immunity after 5-6 months. So you have to wait. See, immunity is not an overnight issue. You will not get it suddenly. So you have to start exercise. Then not okay. During COVID conditions, you do exercise, but light, very slowly, steadily increase, daily increase. But don't take up suddenly severe form of exercise, and definitely the COVID infection will be very, very high. And because acceptance load will be high, and also the the release of the virus load from the person who was already infected and those who are doing exercise will be high, because the high level of inflammation and oxidative stress because of the exercise suppresses even the second level immunity, T cell immunity, both things. This is a very important science. So precautions for COVID sciences: updated physical activity, unadopted physical activity, please avoid. Beginners may take up easier, less intense forms of exercise before higher adaptation. Even the highly adapted exercise, you need to be very cautious with respect to even high level of athletes also don't take up heavy intensity. You have seen, as soon as the sports stadiums are opened, many sportsmen became COVID positive, including Ronaldo. Okay, COVID positive. COVID positive, they will be happy. Sports persons, even they are affected, nothing happens to them because they recover quickly. They even don't show any symptoms, but they become as a silent carriers, asymptomatic, powerful carriers. This is another problem. So positive patients are discouraged from doing exercise. Pre and post exercise nutrition, I told you, anti-inflammatory, antioxidative nutrition, perfect nutrition, especially when you are exercising, is important, and infection-free environment for exercise. So today I've completed almost different elements, and one is wellness management. I've covered some important tidbits. and then also talked about some relaxation techniques. But of course, biofeedback, though I am not a technical man in that, I have not conducted any clinics on biofeedback. Because we only know the basics of the science of the biofeedback, and then I've recommended for the some COVID instructions. And sir, it's a great opportunity for me to speak on the occasion of this training program on my favorite talk, and it's really I am thankful to Dr. Kamruddin Saab for his invitation to me to be as a resource person for this program, and I'm really thankful to all the people who listened to me to me all through the 3 hours of this difficult program. And this is also a big stress for all the teachers like you, I know, but because you may get some provisions because of this kind of certificates. And I hope that all of you have taken note of what I have done. I have given you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I am concluding my session. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir, for being with us for these 3 hours, a continuous session, and giving a lot of insights to our people and to maintain physical, emotional, and mental health in a perfect manner. That is very much essential for these faculty members here.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
1 second, sir. Because people are asking for the PPTs, I will send to your mail ID, sir.
Sir, another thing is, sir, please mention about your book also, sir.
Yeah, I have already suggested. I will suggest that also.
Yeah,
but thing is, wellness management, just if they type in the Google, wellness management, Rajashekar Kali, that's okay.
Okay, sir. Means what I request is one slide you add about your book also.
Yeah, sure, sir, sure.
And the same I will share with all our colleagues, participants.
Yeah. Right, sir.
That would be very nice, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir. Bye. Thank you,
sir. Namaste, sir.
Bye.
My dear colleagues, by